Hey gangs, Patrick, how you doing today? Uh, Welcome back. This is not quite what I had in mind for today, but uh technical difficulties. What can you do? Anyway, I will get uh the next episode of Seneschal up. I promise. Honest to goodness, guys, I'm gonna get that up just as soon as I can. In the meantime, what I can do right now is get some house cleaning out of the way. Hit like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, tell your friends, pass the word. Um, I appreciate you guys coming out. We're sitting at almost 150 subscribers right this minute, and we need to figure out what I'm going to do to celebrate 200. I keep asking this. I'm going to keep saying this until we get there. Don't make me sing. Please don't make me sing again. That was terrifying, is what it was. So what we're going to do today, instead of doing the actual play, is we're going to actually do a quick review of Captain's Log. I'm going to try to hold it up here so you can see it, but I'm not sure how that's going to. Nope, dodgy special effects, making it disappear. Here, I'll hold it in front of my head and kind of see it. There it is. There's the book. That's the disco cover. In case you're curious, I doubt you'll be able to see either of these, but oh, there we go. It's the same size as the player's guide and the game master's guide. Excuse me. But let's get situated here. Hold on just a second. Hey, yay, technology. There we are. All right, so here's the PDF that you'll get with it. If you buy the hard copy anywhere, you can get a PDF from Modiphius. You buy it on their web stores at either modiphius.us or modiphius.net. They'll send you a link automatically. If you buy it on Amazon or in one of your local game stores, wherever, send Modiphius support an email showing proof of purchase, and they'll hook you up with a PDF for free. If you buy just the PDF on like DriveThru or on the Modiphius store, and you decide later to order a hard copy from Modiphius, contact their support and they will work on getting you some credit for purchasing the PDF ahead of time and then going for the hard copy. Their email address, I'll put it in the description below, but it's support@modiphius.com. They got some of the best in the business. Absolutely phenomenal support in my experience. There are 4 different covers. You've got the Discovery cover, like you're seeing here. You've also got a TOS, a TNG, and a DS9/Voyager. It's all the same book. The only differences are the covers. So don't think that if you want to play in one area, you have to buy one book, and in another area, you have to buy another. It's the same exact book inside. It's just the cover that's different. I'm going to jump right on top of this right now and say the lead writer is Michael Dismuke. You know him. He's on Continuing Conversation. He is one of the bloggers at Continuing Mission, and he was the lead writer on this. Jim Johnson grabbed him to do the bulk of the writing on this, and he did a fantastic job. I'm just gonna, kind of spoiler warning. I love the book. I think this is an amazing piece of work here for a variety of reasons. It's a solo RPG, so if you are having trouble getting a group together, or you're just always the GM and you want to play too, this is a great product for you. As I go through, I'll point at some other things out, but you do not have to get this for solo play. This is an excellent resource for the main RPG for Star Trek Adventures itself, and I'll show you that as we go through. And you can also use all of your existing Star Trek Adventures books with Captain's Log. So let's get moving through here a little bit. The introduction is your standard introduction. I love this picture from Ships of the Line that they were able to use for this. This is a gorgeous piece of art. The big thing on this is there's a good chunk of the book aimed at people who may have never played an RPG before, and who may be fairly new to Star Trek. So it gives them some ideas, places to look, episodes to study for the more heavily character-driven stuff, because the game, since it's focused on one character, your character, it is going to be very very much more character-driven. The mechanics are very light in Captain's Log, so you're not going to necessarily be rolling dice as much as well, you'll be rolling dice a lot. I'll show you why later. But it's not dependent on the dice. So much of it is a journaling solo game focused on your character. So a lot of it is even more narrative driven than even Star Trek Adventures. I come from a Shadowrun background. I mean, Star Trek Adventures is rules light to me. I know for most people it's probably rules medium, but it's rules light to me. After decades of playing Shadowrun, that was my big adjustment. Now we get to the first chapter here, which is Star Trek Defined, and there's going to be an impulse by a lot of seasoned Star Trek fans to kind of blow past this. And to be fair, it is a session that's aimed primarily at less knowledgeable fans and players, but it's never a bad idea to try to get a kind of a refresher, remind you. I know going through here myself, I've remembered a few things that we're still there, but they're way back in the back of my head, and they kind of got brought at the surface. So it's a worthwhile section to go through. If you've seen, there's a similar section in both the Player's Guide and the Game Master's Guide, and this is at least in part derived from those. But it's still a good little quick overview. You'll notice up here it says non-Federation characters and campaigns. Like the main game, the conceit of this is that you're a member of Starfleet. You're a captain in Starfleet, although you don't have to play a captain. Again, more on that later. But it doesn't have to be Starfleet. You can play Klingons, you can play Packlids, you can play civilian freighter captains. If you want to be Harry Mudd, go for it. You can do it. There's virtually nothing no character concept that you can't use in Captain's Log. And then what is Captain's Log? And it's similar to the what is Star Trek Adventure sections from the Game Masters and Players Guides. Again, primarily aimed at less experienced players, or even experienced players who aren't as familiar with solo RPGs as, say, I was not terribly familiar with what a solo RPG was supposed to be like. So this has actually been very helpful to me. Some more introductory material, again, primarily aimed at newer, less knowledgeable fans, but it doesn't hurt us old fogies to go over it every now and then and remember the technologies that you're going to find, naval traditions, the Prime Directive, a wonderful little primer on the eras of play, because there's a lot. We've got, the birth of the Federation. We've got mostly the 23rd century. We've got the 24th into the 25th century, even into the 32nd century with Voyager, not Voyager. Oh yeah, I'm having a good day with Discovery in the 32nd century. Yeah, not enough caffeine today. We'll have to take care of that. But also on styles of play, the basic conceit of the game is that you're captain of a Starfleet vessel, but you could be playing admirals. You could be any character. You could be the chief medical officer. You can be an engineer. You can play this as lower decks, either lowercase or uppercase, depending on your sense of humor as you write. But the different kinds of campaigns and games that you can play, they're very similar to what you can do in Star Trek Adventures. Again, adapted very much from material in the player's or game master's guide. And I keep saying that, and some of you are probably, a lot maybe, but some of you are probably saying, why is he talking about that so much? They're good books. You should get them. But the reason a lot of this material is repeated is this is a standalone product. The only book you need is this one that, doesn't really show up with my virtual background. But you only need the one book. And to that end, they wanted to make sure they had the appropriate material in there. Because, again, one of the primary audiences was people who hadn't played a solo RPG before. So they adapted a lot of this material. And I'm glad they did. It's very good stuff, especially for less experienced players. Now we get to start getting to the heart of the game. Reporting for duty. That's character generation. You can do it a couple of different ways, just like you can in STA. You've got the life path, and you've got creation and play. They've done a lot of streamlining. The people who produced the book, Jim Johnson, Michael DeSmuth, they shy away from the word simplified because it's somehow a dirty word to some people, but I think it's a perfect word. It's a simplified, streamlined system. A lot of the mechanical things have been taken out. There aren't, for instance, character talents in Captain's Log. But if you really feel like you need them, there's nothing that says you can't bring them in from Star Trek Adventures, because the games are completely compatible. If you're generating a Captain's Log character, you could add the 4 talents in at the appropriate places and move the character back and forth, because they're basically the same character. You've got the same attributes, you've got the same disciplines. You'll wind up with focuses and values. Some of the derived stats, they don't really have stress and resistance in Captain's Log. If you feel like you need it, bring it in. You can make it more complex if you feel you need to, but it's not necessary. If you have trouble coming up with focuses during character generation, we've got tables here for all 6 divisions. We got command focuses, con focuses, security, engineering, science, and medical focuses. If you have trouble with values, they've got some tables, or excuse me, probability matrices to come up with random ones if you're having trouble, or if you just need a kind of a kick in the pants to say, oh, well, that's not quite what I had in mind, but it's similar here. Let me write this down. And that's one of the things that is really helpful in here are these probability matrices. This is just not even scratching the surface, because the bulk of the book is different matrices for different uses. Half the book. It's very impressive. There's a lot of work putting into it. All right, so we've got life path creation, which is my preferred one because it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. But it's the same life path creation that you do with STA, only it doesn't show you the talent, the sections of talents. If you're not sure, look in one of the core rule books and find out which step in the life path has a talent. Make a note of it for yourself. You've got handy flow charts here. Where to start, how to move through, finishing touches, a section on creating new species, which is kind of nuts because there's something like 70 species in this thing. The species are really a lot more streamlined. That's the word I'm looking for, streamlined, than they are in normal STA, because you don't have the species count. So what you wind up with is you've got your modifiers for your species, and you've got the trait description, and that's really all you need. If you feel like you need more, you can refer back. But for purposes of this game, you really don't need it. If you have trouble deciding what era you want to play in, you can choose what era your character is from. And Next Generation era covers basically everything from the start of Next Generation all the way up into Discovery 32nd century. You can have just about everything. Whichever species you wind up rolling on, if you don't choose one for yourself, if you roll on the original series matrix, for instance, you can also choose to roll on the Enterprise era matrix. And if you roll on the Next Generation matrix, you can choose from TOS or Enterprise. And then you've got, actually, every species that's been listed, just about every species that's been listed in a previous in a previous STA product is listed here. There are a few new ones that have not been listed elsewhere, like the Enar, or let's see, who else showed up in here? Oh yeah, Hordas. You want to play a Horda? Fire it up. You got page after page after page, species descriptions. You can play mixed species just like you can in Star Trek Adventures. So if you want to play a half Vulcan, half Romulan, go for it. One of the characters in my in the actual play I'm working on right now, she's half Gorn, half Saurian. Then you get into the rest of the life path, and it's just the same. They've included streamlined versions of the casts and alternate upbringings from the Klingon core rulebook and the player's guide, respectively. But you've got the environments that you get in STA, your early outlooks, your upbringings, your casts, aspirations. Again, a lot of this is ported over from either the Klingon core book or the player's guide, where they really went all out. Education, you got a lot of different options here. You got Starfleet Academy, you've got Allied military training, etc., etc. How long is your career? Are you a novice? Are you an experienced officer? Are you a veteran? That has bearings on what values you use. Again, since there aren't any specific character talents, you don't get the untapped potential or veterans talents if you choose novice or a veteran. But there's nothing that says you can't bring that in. Like I said, it's beautifully flexible. Your career events are the same career events you get in the main game. Your finishing touches are very much the same, but as I said earlier, your character can go back and forth between these games. If you've got an interlude where you have a quick character moment, you can go through, use this to do that character moment in between the main meetings of your group. You've also got creation and play. You assign a rank, their assignment. It's the same as character creation and play in STA. You got character development, which is a little different, is again streamlined because you're playing a solo game. And here's what I was talking about earlier: character conversion. You can move from one game to another, back and forth. Again, it's a matter of keeping track of talents and things like that for your STA character. The next step in getting started in this game, building your starship. If you know what era you're in, you're ahead of the game, but there are dozens of ships in this book. And again, they're very simplified. There's not all the various construction. The ship is an assistant. It represents the crew as well as the physical ship. But you've got random eras here because you've got, not only do you have the Enterprise, TOS, and TNG eras, but you've also got the Picard and Prodigy, that area of time between after the Dominion War, around or shortly before the attacks on Mars, all the way out into the 25th century. There are ships for that. You've also got a few ships from the 32nd century. Where my current actual play is actually in the 32nd century. But then you roll or select your ship class, And we've got everything from Enterprise era freighters and the NX class. You can play, the Antares, ships from Discovery in the 23rd century. There are also quite a few of the ships from the Star Trek Online, especially the ones that made it into Picard, show up here. But there are, as you can see, a bunch of ships. Again, that's another thing that you kind of figure on is, if you don't like how simplified the ships are, build it in Utopia Planitia and just port it right over. The vast bulk of the ship talents translate straight across. You can randomly choose them if you're having trouble thinking what you want. You can also do star bases or stations. So if you want to play a DS9 style game, here you go. And then you get into the game. You need 2d20. Straight up, that's all you need. 2d20. You do not need challenge dice. You don't need a lot of extra dice, which, as they notice, is different because it's a different style of play. But it's got how to get started. It's got a great flowchart on how to get started if you're a more visual style of learner. And then you start putting things together. What's the main objective? And this is where you start relying on the probability matrices so that you don't get bored. But here's how to use values and focuses and such in your game. Here's how combat works. I love that there are all these flowcharts. It's very quick and simple and straightforward. There are so many examples of how this works included in the book, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Here's how to involve your ship. And you don't have to do this. You can do it solo. It's primarily designed that way, but you can also use it for a more collaborative setting. You can have a lot of players kind of doing the solo thing together. So you have role-playing without a GM, essentially, which is gonna blow a lot of people's minds. I'm still wrapping my head around the concept. I want to take a look at that, but I haven't even come close to examining that yet. I'm still getting used to the solo aspect. And then playing it's a kind of a miniature collective, creative writing course, because at the heart, this is a journaling game. You're writing your story down as you go through the game. You kind of got to, because eventually you will lose track of things. So, take a lot of notes. But here's how to figure that out in case you're not a writer. Here's the basic loop. You narrate to a task. You do that. Lather, rinse, repeat until you feel like you're coming up to the finish. Again, flow charts. Now we're coming up on why I said earlier that you can make a lot of use of this even if you don't plan to play solo. You don't plan to do anything with this at all, but you are being called on to run a game with 20 minutes notice. That's where these appendices come in, the probability matrices. Because you can come up with, what kind of mission are you on? Are you on an aid and relief mission? Are you on a first contact mission? Are you on a mission to show the flag? And then you start complicating things to make the story more interesting. Your inciting incident, what takes you away from the mission you were previously on to suddenly be doing the interesting thing that you're about to be doing. But if you're running into a dead end as a GM, you have got a bajillion D20 based tables to help you figure out what the heck is going on, how to figure out NPCs and how they're going, different life forms, new critters. You got locations. You want to come up with a haunted space station, how to design civilizations that you're encountering. You will never get bored because the dice will never come up with the same thing twice. There are so many different combinations. This is just the heart and soul and bulk of what's going on. There is so much here, dozens and dozens of these things. And the beauty is, if you don't find a table that you need, make it up. Or go to continuing mission. There's a good chance that somebody has put one up there. Not enough values earlier in the book. There's dozens of value tables to be found at continuing mission. Then you got your forms, you got your character sheets, your station sheets, mission trackers, good quick reference, fairly solid index, and that's the book. The PDF also comes with, it comes in a zip file. It comes with additional mission prompts, which are essentially mission briefs for Captain's Log. It also has a few more ships because at the time they were putting the book together, they had not acquired the rights to lower decks. So now they've got the various lower decks starships included for free as part of the package. I feel like I'm leaving something out, but I'm really not. So let me get things back where we were. So 10 out of 10. This is a fantastic book. It is, good for what it says on the cover, solo role playing. It is also a phenomenal tool for aiding players in character generation and aiding GMs in coming up with quick missions when they suddenly realize, oh wait, I've got to run this game in a few minutes and I was given exactly 0 prep time. I just can't recommend it enough. I honestly wasn't sure until I started seeing some of the other reviews of while it was still in pre-order, but I wouldn't have it. I don't even know who got this for me. I wish I did. I'd like to thank them because it's gorgeous. I was going to be waiting for quite a while before I got this book, but someone had mercy on me. They even got me, the cover I had mentioned that I wanted. So that was nice. Again, and I'll keep doing this until I find out who you are. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. But that's it. I think it's a fantastic book. I think everybody ought to go out and get it. had nothing to do with this. Full transparency. Yes, I write for Star Trek Adventures. No, I did not write a word for Captain's Log. I didn't even know it existed until somebody, one of the conventions, accidentally dropped an ad for it in the convention brochure before the official announcement even happened. So anyway, I that's how long I've known about it. So basically, as long as any of you have who weren't actually writing the book. But with all that being said, like the review, 10 out of 10. It's a great resource. I can't imagine that anybody getting hold of it is going to find some use for it. In the meantime, I appreciate all of you who have stuck with me so far. All those of you who have joined recently, thank you. We will be this rate will be at 200 before we know it. If you are interested in helping out the channel, there are links in the description. Go out and buy some books. Gets me some store credit at DriveThru. And as soon as I can, I'll be back in with my my actual playing. That's the next thing I want to shoot. Just things have been getting in the way. But thank you so much for coming by. Have a good rest of the day or evening, depending on when you're watching this thing. Live long and prosper. Have a good night.